Just like driving your car, there are times when you're flying that other traffic has the right of way. Standardized right-of-way procedures are used so that other aircraft will know what you're going to do. And that way, when you do maneuver, you'll end up avoiding one another rather than the alternative. So let's take a look at some situations where the FARs spell out who has the right-of-way. Now, an aircraft trailing smoke is obviously an aircraft in distress. Although this plane has smoke, it's only in a movie and it's already on the ground. But if you should come across aircraft in distress, he has the right-of-way over all other aircraft. He's got a major problem and has to get on the ground in a hurry. What if aircraft are not in distress? Let's assume that you've got two aircraft flying at the same altitude on the same heading and one's overtaking the other. How should they maneuver to avoid a conflict? Well, it should be clear that the aircraft up in front will have a heck of a time backing into the one behind it. Plus, the pilot can't see the aircraft behind him very easily at all. So the aircraft being overtaken has the right of way. The other aircraft must pass well clear of him on his right. Assume now that you've got two aircraft approaching head-on. How should they maneuver to avoid each other? Well, they should both give way to the right. And in this situation, it doesn't make any difference which category the aircraft are. What if aircraft are converging but not head-on? Well, here are two aircraft approaching each other, and while they're not head-on, they are converging. In this instance, the aircraft on the right has the right-of-way. You think maybe that's how they came up with the name? The aircraft on the left has to give way. In this case, by maneuvering to pass behind the aircraft that has the right-of-way. In any event, the aircraft on the left should maneuver away from the other aircraft so it won't interfere with its flight. Now, all that applies if the converging aircraft are of the same category. But what if the aircraft are of different categories? Then, in a conflict, the least maneuverable category has the right-of-way. Now, you should know that airplanes and helicopters are considered the same category as far as right-of-way rules are concerned, because they're considered equally maneuverable. The next most maneuverable aircraft is an airship, or as most of us call it, a blimp. Since an airship has an engine, it can avoid most conflicts, just not as quickly as an airplane or a helicopter. Now, let's check out an example with an airplane and an airship converging. Who's got the right-of-way if the airship is on the left of the airplane? Well, think a minute. Which one is less maneuverable? It should be obvious that the airship is a bunch less maneuverable than the airplane, so the airship has the right-of-way even though it's on the left. Now let's assume you have an aircraft towing a glider or refueling another aircraft. Who's got the right-of-way? If an aircraft is towing or refueling another aircraft, it has the right-of-way over all engine-driven aircraft, including an airship and a gyroplane, because airships and gyroplanes are engine-driven aircraft. Now think about a glider. Since a glider doesn't have any engines, it should have the right-of-way over everything else except a balloon. And that makes sense when you consider that a balloon is at the mercy of the wind and simply cannot steer around things very well. Suppose now that you have an aircraft that's refueling another aircraft. Would it have the right-of-way over a glider? Absolutely not. A glider is not an engine-driven aircraft, so it has the right-of-way over an aircraft that's refueling others. A glider also has the right-of-way over an airship because an airship has an engine and goes pretty much where it needs to. A glider, on the other hand, depends on something other than an engine to keep it aloft. So as you can see, when everyone uses standard procedures, we all know what the other fellow is going to do. And that makes your flying a whole lot more comfortable, not to mention a whole lot safer.